Hey nerds, in honor of the holiday today, we have decided to take the week off. So don't you worry, we will be back next week to go over the blockbuster, Cape Talk, tech perspective, the whole nine yards. We've got a great show planned for you. What I wanted to do then is take the opportunity for some of you new listeners who haven't taken our advice to go to intro.thatkindofnerd.com and to learn more about the show, but actually give you a clip. So we are going to share a clip from episode 142, Getting to Know Us Better. We were nearing our 150th episode, and we thought we would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the movies and music that defined us as nerds. So this is just an opportunity for you to get to know us better. Again, all three of us will be back next week, rested, ready to go to tell you what is coming out in the month of September. And if you become a sponsor of our Patreon, you will get to choose which movie we are going to go to the theaters to see, and then we will do an exclusive spoiler cast for that movie. So a lot of weird movies coming out of September, so I hope you're kind to us and choose a good movie instead of watching The Meg and Skyscraper. And if you want to hear those two episodes, go to patreon.com/thatkindofnerd or go to your show notes in your podcasting app. Become a subscriber for $10 and you will get access to those episodes and the upcoming one for the month of September. So without further ado, again, here's a clip from episode 142, Getting to Know Us Better. So since we're nearing our 150th episode in just a few weeks, we thought we'd take the time for some of the new listeners and some of you who are not so new just to get to know us a little bit better. So I came across a tweet online that we just had to instantly grab, but also expand on and just kind of make it a little better. And it was two. One of them is, name 5 movies that a potential significant other needs to watch in order to know what kind of person you are. To which Josh said, yes, great topic. Also, add albums to that. So what albums would they need to listen to know what kind of person you are? So I figured we would take it from the movies first, and then we'll hit the albums. I'd love to hear, Josh, where you started off with this list.
All right. So like anything else, if I'm trying to get to know somebody, the thing that I try to convey is, when I watch these things, I didn't know how to feel. Like, I was so filled with emotion, I didn't know how to feel. So I will preface everything by saying, when I saw these movies, I was so filled with emotion, I didn't know how to feel. Starting with The Breakfast Club, I always sort of aligned with the John Bender character. That's kind of who I was, but it was really about people coming together, and that's sort of a common theme. Stand By Me, I'm not sure there's a better story about coming of age and loyalty among friends. The story of us, I have now been with my wife for 20 years, and this movie that we saw together when we were kids really just continues to resonate with me. Varsity Blues, I played football my entire young life. I'm not really sure there's a better sort of story of brotherhood and teamwork and coming together and even rebelling against some bullshit than Varsity Blues. The Fast and the Furious, it really defined a good portion of my late teens and early 20s, where I was about family and this crazy close group of friends, but getting into a bit of trouble. So those are my 5.
I can attest to the fact that your several movies had that thing of friendship and family being a very strong bond, that even some of your friends are close family. And as a guy who worked for you as well as doing the show, that is 100% a personality trait that you have. So I
find it very funny that CJ did not identify himself as one of your friends, Josh.
He just does the show with me.
That's right.
He I've actually never met and does the show with me.
Never met him in person. It's only through Google Hangouts and Skype. That's how that worked.
Interesting.
For me, I had a different approach. I kind of grabbed some movies that kind of resemble a part of my personality, or just kind of really did invoke something inside of me that kind of, I don't know, gave me some emotions I didn't know I had, just kind of like you. So again, in no particular order, starts with The Mask. You know, I'm a goofy guy, so it's got to be The Mask. The Producers, that's my love of theater and comedy, just put into there. Matchstick Men, because sometimes when I'm trying to be serious, I end up being a total goofball. Baby Driver, for 2 things. Number 1, I'm a continuity asshole, and that movie does a fantastic job with putting things together. And also, I love music, and the way that movie uses music is fantastic. And then it rounded out with the movie The Spectacular Now, with Miles Teller. I don't know, that movie just for something felt like a good life lesson for me, so I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, Brian. So that was my list. I'd love to hear what you have in yours.
Well, as you all know, I am a huge fan of movies. I own many much movies, and I have seen many movies, thousands in fact. And I am very angry that you tried to pigeonhole me and put me down to 5.
I had that problem with the records. Yeah,
I had the same thing. Yeah.
So I have a list of 50, and here they go. No, this is tough because I'm kind of going through this right now. I'm now trying to figure out what movies does my girlfriend need to see before
that's true.
take the next step. I can't describe what I'm going through right now, trying to think of the movies that I want her to see because I want her to be.
Oh, that's wonderful.
This is gorgeous.
Now just give us 5 and fuck yourself.
Can I include trilogies as one?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, fine. Okay, fine.
I can?
Sure.
Oh, this makes things just a little bit easier. Just a little bit easier. Okay. So the
Because
first,
you've just given me 8 Fast and Furious movies.
okay, I'm giving you all.
So
8.
we can include the trilogies.
You don't want to do just the original trilogy, the Fast and Furious, 2 Fast and Furious, and Tokyo Drift?
Give me all. It's all family. It's
gets
all
the entire
violent.
thing.
It's
Okay.
it's all badass. That's
Okay, all right. So
I, by the way, do not get Son of the Mask. Don't lump that in with that. It just
you don't get that.
no. That stays with one.
So, oh man, it's so tough. So the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, is most definitely on there. If I had to pick one, it would be Episode 4 because if you watch Episode 5, you won't know what's going on. But I mean, this movie was the set of movies that introduced me to movies. It is probably why I love movies so much. I remember my father disappearing into a closet when I was 6 or 7 years old and saying, "Okay, son, you're ready to watch these movies now." And I've loved them ever since. So that is most certainly on there. The Back to the Future trilogy is definitely on there as well, just because every time I watch that movie, it's just, I am Marty McFly, I feel sometimes, or maybe I'm George McFly. I don't know. Depending on the day, I'm one or the other. Depending on the day. Most of the days, I'm George McFly, but I want to be Marty.
Yeah.
And I wish I had a Doc Brown in my life who was crazy and could take me on time traveling missions. But more importantly, it's fun, it's nerdy, it's everything that is me for the most part, and it's got a freaking kick-ass soundtrack. I do need to put the Spider-Man movie. I don't want to include the entire trilogy. Can I just say 1 and 2?
It's fine. You don't have to include the entire thing. We're already bending the rules, so let's just let it happen.
So Spider-Man 2002, Sam Raimi. I think, everybody knows how important Spider-Man was to me as a child. This movie was a dream come true for me. It is. I could watch these movies nonstop. And, I wish I could just include every single Marvel movie in that as well. But I mean, if I had to relegate myself to a couple, it would have to be the Sam Raimi trilogy of the Spider-Man movies. Inception, believe it or not, because I like to think.
Okay.
And that, by the way, is the only movie to think.
No, I mean, there's plenty of movies to think. Here's what I really like about Inception. It's not just because the story makes you think. The whole idea of the dreamscape and everything is always been really interesting to me. But more importantly, not more importantly, but it's also got a lot of technical aspects to it. It is a lot of what I love about movies in one movie. The acting.
It has my all-time favorite Tom Hardy quote.
Which one is that?
"You have to dream a bit bigger, darling."
Ah, yes.
He says to Leo quote in that whatever that shady bar they were at.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie and love that quote. That's solid.
So, I mean, it encompasses a lot of the technical aspects of what I like about movies and how they did that kind of stuff. That movie is the reason I watch special features, because if you watch the special features on that movie, it's so interesting. It's so cool. And last but not least, I do have The Wedding Singer because I'm a romantic at heart.
All right.
And I like
That's
music.
fantastic. And You saying The Wedding Singer as your last movie, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. That's like, this is how he wants his shit to unfold. This makes sense to me.
There we go. So,
all right.
I had to bring it down to 5. Trust me, there are so many more.
No,
She's
I'm
going through
Brian,
it right
Brian,
now.
I understand.
I was willing to allow you like 20, so this is good.
Okay, all right. Well then, whew.
So the next one was 5 albums that people need to listen to. There's going to be 2 right off the bat that I know on mine. I'm going to get made fun of, and I really don't give a shit. And it started off with the first one, which is X and Y by Coldplay. I know Josh prefers Rush of Blood to the Head, but I just had a better emotional connection experience.
Or Parachutes would be fun.
Yeah, to X and Y. Just it was at the formative time of my life, just kind of made me who I am.
That makes sense.
The next one is Continuum by John Mayer. It was the album I was listening to right before I met my wife. It was just kind of getting me into the headspace to actually, kind of grow up a little bit. And I just have a strong emotional connection to it. The next one, which I think is an odd choice, but the more I thought about it, I couldn't leave it off this list, and that's The Heist by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. I think it does a great job of just doing some honest, just telling honest stories and just being emotionally vulnerable and available to others, which is a trait I always try to learn. The next one, this is 3 albums in one, but I'm only picking one of the albums, so maybe I'm the one bending the rules this time. And that is the early November, The Path. The Path is part of 3 albums: The Mother, The Mechanic, and The Path. It's another one that really is like a play. It tells a whole story, and it encompasses a lot of emotions. And there's one song in there that just destroys me, brings me down to tears every single time I listen to it. The last one is Sunsets and Car Crashes by The Spill Canvas. It's one of those albums that just speaks to me in the right way. It tells a couple stories, but also has a great opportunity for you to just roll down the windows, get the music on real loud, and just kind of drive around. So it was very formative. I will, of course, be including a Apple playlist to all of these albums for all 3 of us in the show notes. So if you want to hear what we're talking about, you can have those albums. So Brian, we're going to go on to you now. You're going to be number 2 here. What are your 5 albums that your potential significant other needs to listen to know who you are? I am actually very interested to hear what you picked.
I do not identify with music nearly as much as I identify with movies. I am super sorry. So I don't really have a ton that was just like, oh my gosh, I remember where I was listening to that song and doing that thing. There's a couple. And the only thing I can really truly remember, the only album I remember me listening to nonstop in high school, that I would say really had an impact on me is the Yellow Card. Yellow Card's first album, which I'm pretty sure was just called Yellow Card.
It was called Ocean Avenue, and it's on my list.
Is it really?
Well,
it certainly is.
I took it. I'm sorry, Josh. I mean, I listened to that all throughout high school, and I mean, I remember a lot of memories with an ex-girlfriend who was an ex for a reason. To that album, the Beatles' Revolver would be one. That I mean, I grew up in a house with a Beatle maniac who was playing Beatles nonstop. I think Revolver is probably my favorite. It has, most of the songs that I really enjoy by them, but I can't pick all of the Beatles albums, unfortunately. So I'll stick to that one. Another thing I did listen to in my middle school / high school days was, Matchbox 20, Real World was their first album. And is that 3 right now? I'm going to put also the Billy Joel Essential album, just because Billy Joel.
It's Billy Joel, yeah.
Why the hell not? And you're all going to laugh at me, but most definitely, believe it or not, the 2002 Spider-Man soundtrack is on my list.
Was that the one that had Nickelback?
Yeah, disqualified for Nickelback.
It had Chad Kroeger, not Nickelback.
Oh,
and Hero was a great song.
I do agree
Nope.
that Hero is a song.
You'll say that a hero can save
I noticed that your
us.
Scott Stapp is very similar.
They're all the same. They all sound
They
the
are
same.
all the
bro.
same.
I will not make fun of you for it. I do understand it, considering it's also on your favorite movie list. And when I was kind of telling you about this, I said, hey, just include 5 soundtracks. Like, it's not hard. So I will give it to you and not make fun of you too bad. All right, Josh, I saved you for last due to the long conversations that we had about music playing a part in your life. So I am very interested to hear your top 5 albums.
Yeah, and this was incredibly difficult. I thought about this all week long, and when I put the list together, I found myself writing and rewriting it. And the basis of what I came up with essentially is all of these records, when I first heard them, filled me with something, some sort of emotion, and more so maybe than anything else. Brian, you saying Yellow Card means I get to take that off my list and put one of the things I cut back on, but still retain it. You also said Billy Joel, and I cut An Innocent Man, which was like a 1983 release. It was, I don't know, it was 9th or 10th record, but it was so much a part of my youth, driving in my mother's car with An Innocent Man in the tape deck, that I instantly, when I hear it, I'm in the back seat of my mother's car and we're on our way to school. So that's what music is for me. It's a time and a place and a smell and a feeling and an emotion. So these were incredibly difficult. I will preface that. The first thing on my list, and the first time I remember feeling like I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with all of this, was in 1992. I was 12 years old. It was The Chronic by Dr. Dre. I did not know what to do with all the emotion, with all the things it filled me with. The next time was probably Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which is still on constant repeat in my sort of rotation. I love it so much, and it's got highs and lows that are just unbelievable. When I was 16, Alice in Chains Unplugged record got me through a very, very difficult time, and I cannot listen to Nutshell without being reduced to tears today, 21 years later. The next one is replacing Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card, because it holds such a special place in my heart. But my senior year of high school, Brian, you talked a bit about when you were in like junior high, or maybe a little younger than that, Matchbox 20. Another band came out at the same time that I felt was just lyrically, musically superior and in every way, but hasn't done a ton since. Third Eye Blind's self-titled debut album changed the way I looked at music and how it could make you feel and how real lyrics could be and how deceptive music is in juxtaposition to the lyrics. So it was very interesting. And the number 5 on my list is Brand New's second album, Deja Entendu, which I still just... It fills me with so much emotion. I don't know what to do with. It's emotional. It's angry. It's violent. It's loving. It's got everything you'd want from sort of a Long Island emo band that nobody really knows, and it's amazing. So these were very hard for me, and I wish I could have put more hip hop or like I didn't include Tool at all, and they were very. No Pantera, no Pink Floyd, but these records, these 5, and I'm including Yellow Card and Billy Joel because you opened the door.
Because you're allowed. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Lawyered. And so these records meant more to me. And they still take me to a time and place, and I can smell and feel and taste things from when Billy Joel, I was 3 years old. And I still remember. I remember sitting on my uncle's shoulders, walking through the Italian festival parade thing in Hartford, listening to An Innocent Man on the loudspeakers. Like, I'll never forget that shit.
Yeah, music always has the way to kind of transport you to a time, a moment, and a place, and it takes you to that exact second. It doesn't mess around. It's very similar to just, kind of almost like, having a nice home cooked meal, or just kind of smelling something from your past. And it's incredible to share that with a lot of people. And as we say every week, this is 100% never a one-way conversation between just the three of us. We want to hear from you, the fans. I know it's hard to put it down to 5, but I would really challenge you. We'd love to get to know who's listening to our show just a little bit better. So if you're listening to this now, I would absolutely love it if you would take a couple minutes, put together 5 movies, put together 5 albums, send them to us in a tweet at That Kind of Nerd, or on Facebook, or you can even call us and you can leave a voicemail and have your own story. Call 484-373-4119. You can also text that. If you're not sure what that number is, go to the show notes. And like I said, we're going to include an Apple Music playlist in there too, so you can listen to our music, get to know us a little bit better. But we want to hear from you, and we'll gladly put your music on there as well. I want to thank you guys so much for sharing these lists. It means the world to me that you went on this little exercise with me.
You made me feel things, CJ.
That's what we do some days. Just sometimes it's good to kind of peel back the corner and kind of take away the nerdy facade. And again, for us, a nerd is a passion for anything. Josh's passion for music, your passion for music, for movies. It's not just tied to one thing. So I want to thank you, listener, for making us your walk around your neighborhood or your drive to work. I cannot wait to get to know you a little bit better, and we will see you next week.